down. We the talk around town. Alex threw the ball to Smokey for a touchdown. Ha. It's fourth down and you don't really want no more. We've been winning from the door. You should check the scoreboard. Ha. Check the scoreboard.
Welcome back to another episode of the Scoreboard. Going into week 4 of the 2023 NFL season. It was an eventful week 3, to say the least. We have some things to talk about. Smokey, how are you doing?
Oh, I am doing good. I am better than Bears fans at this point in time because it looks like the whole castle is crumbling. If they ever had one to begin with, there was a lot of hope going into the season for the Bears and Justin Fields, and it looks like you guys might be a candidate for an 0-17 season at this point. It's the curse of the Ohio State quarterback. Everybody thought Justin Fields was the guy that was going to break the curse. It doesn't look like it's going to happen. Maybe he can pull something together throughout the rest of the season. I don't know at this point because he's been really horrible and the Bears are in the dumps. That's a dumpster fire at this point in time. How are you?
I'm good. I'm better than Broncos fans. Except the other one that you
That was my second choice. Yes.
Surprised to know that wasn't your first choice. Losing by 50 points, 70 to 20. That's a basketball score. And the Broncos have allowed more points in the game than the Denver Nuggets on a regular basis.
Yes. Exactly. Dude, that was all kinds of epic. And I don't know, I mean, I kind of like, after watching Sean Payton's post game press conference, he deserved it. He absolutely deserved it. Of course. And I never had any love for Sean Payton, but I thought maybe there was some kind of chemistry that was going to build there. And all that talk about Fangio, not Fangio, but Hackett in the offseason. And look what you did. All that talk, and look what you did. You just got stomped out in an epic fashion. A game like that hasn't happened since like the leather helmet era. I think, what was it, the New York Yankees, actually the football team, the New York Yankees was the last team to put up 70 on someone.
Yeah, 1966, something like that.
Oh, was it 66?
I think it was 66.
Oh, I was thinking it went back farther than that.
If they kicked that field goal, it would have gone even farther. If they won 73, then it would have been a record. Yeah.
Wow, it's ridiculous. Yeah,
that's crazy.
Maybe that was the stat that I saw, that the 73 would have been.
I think so.
Even farther back. Yeah,
I think that would have been the single game record. I mean, crazy. I'm not complaining. Like you said, the whole offseason talk about, this team's been so badly coached by Nathaniel Hackett and throwing everyone under the bus. Yeah. He's already managed to make it worse somehow. And didn't really thought it was possible from last year, but this team stinks.
Oh, dude, it's epic. It's epic. Like, there was no one could fathom that they could be this bad.
Actually, it'll be put to the test this week because they happen to play the Bears. So the two worst teams. We have 4 teams left that are 0-3. So 4 undefeated teams, as you say. Mm-hmm. And both of those are, like, all 4 of those are playing among each other this week. Can you believe it? We have the Vikings, the Panthers, and the Broncos at the Bears. So 2 will walk out as 0-4 most likely, and 2 teams will have to win somehow, which is actually difficult to think about. And 3 teams so far undefeated. So it's getting it's getting close. In a couple of weeks, everyone will have won and lost at least once probably. But my bold prediction of the 0-17 team is still live, and right now I love the Broncos.
I kind of hate that I made that prediction because all the elements were there for them to turn it around. But like I said, after really looking at what Sean Payton said after the game, I'm kind of happy this is happening to him. Mm-hmm. He deserves it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm alright with them being the 0-17 team. Before we get into these games, and we have a very interesting. I think this is the most interesting slate we've had so far this year, week 4. This is a really, really good one. Before that, we have 2 segments. We have the MVP watch, and I'll go first this week. Top 5 MVP power rankings. It's impossible to take Tua out of the number 1 spot after that performance, a record-breaking offensive day for the Dolphins. So Tua's still my number 1, probably making up quite some distance on the rest, even though most of it was actually on the ground. I've Brock Purdy at number 2 this week. His probably one of the best games statistically of his career against the Giants. Being blitzed 80% of the time is incredible. The fact that he threw for 300 yards, didn't turn it over. Justin Herbert at 3 finally won a game. He was the best quarterback of the week last week. Probably AFC offensive player of the week in my opinion. It was close still because the Vikings and Chargers are both experts at losing, but they did prevail, so he's finally got a win and he gets to be on the MVP list. Jared Goff still at 4. I know you're not a big fan of that one. What happened to the Falcons there? And then I have Patrick Mahomes at 5 this week because the Chiefs have won again pretty convincingly, so Mahomes kind of inching up the boards. Still can't put Kirk Cousins on there. Statistically he's top 3, but can't go 0-3 and be an MVP candidate.
Exactly. And, as far as the general public looking at this, I think these 3 names have made their way back into it. Obviously, Tua is number 1. There's no doubt about that. No other quarterback has ever done what Tua did this past week, or the Dolphins in general. I mean, I guess it wasn't like this phenomenal Tua statistical game. It was phenomenal, but it wasn't like record-breaking like it was for Tyreek Hill and Devon Achane and Raheem Mostert. But it's crazy.
In part, though, because they could afford to take Tua out in the fourth quarter. He didn't have to play the full game.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but there's no doubt. The guy was actually number 1 in our rankings last season before he was injured.
Yeah.
So it's just his rightful spot. He's just that good. The old familiar names, the usual suspects here, Patrick Mahomes, Allen, and Hurts, those guys are back in the running to the general public, and maybe we really should be putting Purdy up there next in line because he is undefeated and he's playing better than anyone ever thought he would. But I think as far as the general public goes, the voting public, these guys are actually throwing Patrick, Allen, and Hurts back in there. And there's a few guys, like you said, Justin Herbert and a few others are on the bubble. But right now, the undisputed champion, until further notice, is Tua.
Absolutely. The big names, you can put them in. I think Josh Allen had a good redemption the last 2 weeks. It's just, if right now we're judging based on 3 weeks, and if 1/3 of your season is what he did in week 1, I don't think you can be in the running. Of course, you can still be in the running for the whole entire season if he keeps up what he's been doing the last 2 weeks. But so far, given the sample that we have, I don't think he belongs on the list. Mahomes just about for me. And Jalen Hurts, I mean, the Eagles win on the ground. I've never seen him as the most valuable kind of piece. But that's up for debate as well. It's still early in the season, so we'll see how it develops. We have this year's new game that we play before every time we make the actual picks, which is guess the biggest spread, and it is where you, Smokey, have to guess the biggest spread, betting wise, of the upcoming week. And you are 1-2 so far. Impressively, you already have gotten it right once, which is hard. What do you think, week 4?
This one looks like it should be easier than the past, or at least weeks 1 and 2, obviously. I was looking at the Eagles Commanders. That's probably a huge spread in NFL standards. The only other thing I would see on here would be maybe the Chargers and Raiders, but that would be last out of any of the spreads, I would think. I am actually going to go with the Chiefs and the Jets. That has to be the biggest spread.
See, it's such a trap week because that's what I would have gone with easily. Not even close. There is a game that has... It's a big spread. The Chiefs are big favorites. There is a game in which there is a team favored by 4.5 points more than the Chiefs.
Wow, really?
We have a 14-point spread this week.
Let me try to guess. And you're saying it's a team that it shouldn't be, right?
No, I mean, it's a team that should be favored, but them being favored by 14 is when the Jets are favored 9.5 over the Chiefs 9.5 over the Jets. This team 14-point favorite is definitely something I won't touch. I'm convinced that this team will win, but I will not touch it betting wise.
Wow, who could that be? The Seahawks and Giants kind of stand out.
Oh, we'll get there when we do the prediction.
Oh, okay.
That's the fun. That's the fun reveal kind of when we get there. But let's start Thursday night here. Highly anticipated, actually. NFC North Lions and the Packers. Sorry, not the Bears. Lions and the Packers for the driver's seat in the division.
Yeah, definitely. It should be fun to see how this turns out here. The Lions looked great against the Falcons. That defense showed up and shut down the Falcons. They could not get anything going. It's kind of what I was telling you about. Arthur Smith needs to let the guy throw downfield so we can see if he'll do it. We'll talk about that more when we get to the Falcons. Aiden Hutchinson showed up finally. Had a huge game in this one. And he's going to be great for the rest of the season. I'm kind of worried about Jordan Love. I almost said Josh Love again, man. I'm kind of worried about Jordan Love meeting Aiden Hutchinson in this one. The Packers, actually, they got the win, but they really shouldn't have got the win. You know, they were 17 points behind. Carr gets injured in the game, and they were able to climb their way back into it. They should have blown out the Saints, right? With Jameis Winston back there. I don't know. I feel like they weren't as good as they should have been in that game, and the Lions absolutely held up their end of the bargain, so I will be taking the Fighting Jared Goffs on the road here.
Before I'm going to give my pick, I knew there was something I forgot at the start. How was our results from last week?
That's right. Yeah, man, I should have remembered this one because I liked the results this week. We disagreed on 5 again, and I got 3 of them, I believe. Yes. I got 3. I came out 3 points ahead of you.
Oh, wow.
Titans, Browns. You had the Titans. I picked the Falcons and the Lions, obviously. The Packers did claw back and get me that win, whereas you picked the Saints.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I picked the Saints. That was a joke. I mean, how do you blow that?
Well, yeah, but this actually was a joke on your part. The Panthers. You actually picked the Panthers to win that game. And
I said Bryce Young would have his coming out game, right? And then he didn't start.
Yeah, but I don't know. A lot of people are saying that Andy Dalton gives them the best chance to win. So
I don't know.
But like I said, Pete Carroll always finds a way to be slightly above mediocre, and they get wins that way, especially against a team like Panthers. We did not disagree on the Cowboys, but I want to point out that was horrible, that you guys got beat up by the Cardinals. It makes absolutely no sense. And the last one, I actually picked the Rams, you picked the Bengals, and the Rams should have won that. They just blew it. They were leading most of the game and just blew it right at the end. That was a horrible offensive game. It looked terrible, in my opinion. The total on the week, I got 11 correct, and you got 8, bringing the overall total to 26 for me and 30 for you, so I am closing the gap.
Yeah. It's been turbulent so far. We haven't had this much variance in the first few weeks of a season. Usually it's very close.
Absolutely.
So I guess that speaks to how unpredictable this season has been. But on this first game, I haven't given my pick yet. I will go with your instinct as well. I'll take the Lions. Packers should have absolutely lost that game, and then I don't think the spread will be as close as it is, with the Lions only favored by 1.5 points. The Lions have been very convincing. They beat the Chiefs to open the season on a Thursday night, which makes me think they're probably pretty comfortable in that time slot, and I think they've been waiting for decades to go into Lambeau Field and lay it on to the Packers, and I think that opportunity is presenting itself right now. Lions are better than they have been in over 10 years, and the Packers are more vulnerable than they have been in over 30 years, 25, 30 years. So Lions to beat the Packers. Actually, I'm gonna say double-digit win. I'm gonna say something like 28-10 for the Lions. I think they'll have a very good one here. Falcons and the Jaguars.
Yeah, 2 teams that I don't feel as good about as I did after week 1. That's for sure. The Falcons, like I said, you blew it to the Lions. You basically got stomped out. And at the end of the game where the Falcons have been making their bread and coming back on these teams, they could not get anything going. That defense just stifled them. And like I said, Arthur Smith does not let Desmond Ridder throw downfield. Like, when you're down by over 10 points or more, 14 points, whatever it was, why are you throwing passes behind the line of scrimmage? When there's like 3 minutes left in the game and you're down by 14 points, you don't throw behind the line of scrimmage. I don't know what Arthur Smith is doing there. The run game couldn't get going. That's supposed to be his strong suit. It was horrible all the way around. But on the other side, the Jaguars, man, I'm starting to feel, I don't know if this is just a lull. Like, when Josh Allen's breakout season happened, he had 2 to 3 games there, about games 6 through 8 or 9, whatever it was, where he was on this horrible run, and everybody's like, no, it's not going to happen for him, obviously. He had a few good games. Probably not going to happen. I'm hoping that's what's happening for Trevor Lawrence right here, and I think the Jaguars can put this back together. This is a London game or something, I believe?
Is it already this early? I don't think so.
I heard something about it.
It might be. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's listed for 3:30 European time. So that would be,
Both of these teams tend to play in London over the past few years, so makes sense to have them matched up right here. Maybe Kyle Pitts can get going. The last big game that Kyle Pitts had was in London with Matt Ryan, so maybe this will be a big week for him and they can get something going. But I think I want to protect, well, not even a lead, but I want to make up my points here. I'm going to say that the Falcons do not get it done, and it hurts my heart to say that, but I'm going to say that this is kind of a get-right game for the Jaguars, and Doug Peterson figures it out. Doug Peterson needs to start calling offensive plays himself instead of, I forgot the guy's name, whatever his name is. Either way, Jaguars, I will be taking them in the London home game.
So you're assuming I'll take the Falcons because you're trying to make up points.
Mm-hmm.
You say.
See, I didn't want to lose it if we did.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. I've been thinking about this one a lot. I think there is a tangible advantage for the Jaguars actually playing overseas now because they do it every year. It's a known process to them. I think it does give them somewhat of a home field guard, especially because the English fan base is predominantly Jaguars leaning due to the way the NFL has marketed them. So I'm going Jacksonville as well. I was very high on Atlanta last week, but then you consider that the Falcons have spent top 10 picks in 3 consecutive years on offensive players, and they can't produce 150 yards against the Lions. Is kind of concerning to me, and I know this could be like a very up and down team, which you wouldn't expect because they are very run heavy. But the problem is if that doesn't work, if someone stops the run, and that's your only bread and butter, that's the only thing you can go to, you kind of messed up the whole game plan, and then it becomes really difficult. So I'm saying Jacksonville because they're a bit better through the air, a bit better at passing attack. And it's going to be a close one. Could go either way. I'm going Jacksonville due to what I would call home field advantage for them. And because I need to see the Falcons pick up some kind of consistency. I need to see them invent some kind of passing attack. Because you have Drake London, you have Kyle Pitts. You believe Desmond Ridder's the guy. You got running backs that can catch the ball. So, Falcons offense needs to pick it up. And until they do, I will go Jacksonville here. Dolphins at the Bills.
Mm-hmm. And I do want to reiterate that I blame that on Arthur Smith at this point in time.
I know. Yeah.
All right. Dolphins and the Bills. This is the game of the week, obviously, right? This was the game of the week last year when this game happened.
Yeah.
And I think maybe Tua was out for the second time this happened, but this was a hell of a game when you have Allen and Tua playing head to each other. The Dolphins are coming off the biggest win that any of us have seen in our lifetimes, and the Bills are doing quite well themselves. It looks like they're back on track, and it looks like Allen has put it back together. We were worried about him, but the Commanders were a get-right game. You beat them by 34 points, whatever it was. It was a great game. Both of these teams are going to come in red hot at this point in time. But unfortunately, I think the Dolphins are just that much better because they were unstoppable last season when you had Tua at 100%. And it looks like he is at 100% right now. The MVP should go in there and take this one at Buffalo.
So both these teams just beat up on bottom feeders last week, right? Which is all nice and good and clearly, established hierarchy in the NFL. How often does it happen that a number one team in the power rankings convincingly blows out a mediocre team and doesn't retain the number one spot? Usually, if the number one team that's already number one, as long as they remain undefeated, no one replaces them, right? Because it's just how it goes. It's status quo. The Niners were bumped down in the power rankings solely because of that number, 70 points that the Dolphins scored. Unanimously, everyone, you're going to find Dolphins number one in the power rankings everywhere. And I have a hard time disagreeing with it. Though, of course, I know that after sort of 40, 50 points, Denver's defense kind of stopped playing. And you could hear it after the post-game interviews. Like you said, they were completely dejected. This is the Dolphins offense minus Jalen Waddle, by the way. And healthy Tua with Mike McDaniel has been by far the best quarterback we've ever seen in the NFL, ever. If you string together if you cut out the injury time that Tua had, it's the first 4 or 5 games of last year, and then the first 3 games of this year, I've never seen anything like it. I don't think we ever have. If that's going to keep up as it has been, Dolphins are definitely the favorite to win the AFC this year, and go to the Super Bowl if they can stay healthy. If it can keep up like that, the offense seems as close to unstoppable as anything I've ever seen. The Bills have been good. I like what they've done. I just think the Dolphins are such a super team. I don't see them getting beat anytime soon like that. So I'm taking the Dolphins on the road at Buffalo. But it is the game of the week. You're definitely right about that. Though I personally have another favorite for game of the week, which I'll tell you about in a bit. But first, we have the Vikings at the Panthers.
Oh, something I was thinking about the Dolphins while you were talking, though, is that's a Nick Saban quarterback. The greatest Nick Saban quarterback ever. We can argue that, right? He actually went to the team that Nick Saban coached when he was in the NFL. Didn't turn out so well for him, but just a synchronicity there. Vikings.
I guess I could argue that the best Nick Saban quarterback, I don't know, it's between Bryce Young and Tua. I guess I'll give it to Tua. Yeah, I guess I'll go Tua.
Maybe you could look at the stats and say that Bryce Young was healthier, so he may have put up a few more stats. I'd have to look back
that's
at
why.
that. Yeah.
But Tua's been winning more, and he's definitely proven it in the NFL.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Yeah, Vikings and Panthers. Tank Bowl. The Vikings actually played really well against the Chargers. It's just that both of those teams were undefeated at the time, and one of them had to defeat the other one. The Panthers, with Andy Dalton, some people are actually saying that Andy Dalton looked better than Bryce Young out there, but isn't that kind of be expected? Andy Dalton's been in the league for well over a decade at this point, and Bryce Young, that was his 2 games that he's played in so far, and that would have been his 3rd. I don't know that the Panthers are good enough to win with any of the quarterbacks on their squad right now because the Vikings can score. And like you said, Kirk Cousins is putting up numbers every single game. There's no doubt about it that offense is firing. Now, you got to worry about Justin Jefferson being injured. I don't know how that's looking at this point in time, but it didn't seem to be too bad because he was walking away. It may have just been cramps or something at the time. I will take the Vikings because they can easily outscore the Panthers.
See, you would think that. I'm tempted to go with exactly what I did last week, which is say again, this is the game, the Panthers break on the scene.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do it. The Vikings aren't good, but the thing is, the Vikings are the same they were last year. They're the same team they were last year. It's just that the coin is landing a different way than what it was last year. Because last year we were 13-4, and with a couple of bounces taken, have easily been 4-13. if things had gone differently. So this is not like a huge implosion. This is the team they are. They play close games, and they're not outstanding at anything in particular. And then sometimes they win, sometimes they lose, but it's volatile, and it can go either way. I think that's who the Vikings are. So that's that. However, I really want to take the Panthers, but I can't. Even though they're at home and this is the opportunity, I should give it to them. I can't do it. I'm going Vikings. I'm saying Justin Jefferson fully healthy. The Vikings get it done. They get the first win in the column because Kirk Cousins is still statistically a very, very good quarterback. And at some point against these weak teams, it'll have to be enough. So I'm going to give it to the Vikings. So far, we've agreed on everything. Here is my under the radar game of the week: Broncos at Bears.
It really is, because this is one of those where both of these teams need a win. And this could actually turn their luck around in the long run, possibly. But have a feeling whoever wins this is still going to be bad the next week. But who knows? One of these teams may actually pull it and get together as the season goes on. I'm not a fan of Eberflus. He's starting to look like Matt Nagy to me. And I did not like Matt Nagy whatsoever. And Eberflus might just be the next Matt Nagy. And I have no love for Peyton at all, and this weekend just reiterated that I don't like the guy, obviously. The Broncos maybe are an overall better team, maybe an overall better offense. Russell actually, while getting beat by 50 points, had a somewhat decent game. It's hard to believe, but you know, they put up 20 points and it was okay, but maybe that was all just garbage time. I don't know, this is actually a tough one. I mean, I want to get 3 points to the Bears, but the Bears are so bad right now, but so are the Broncos. You know what? I'm going to stick with my post-type sleepers here and say we get it going. This is the one that turns it around. I'll be taking the Broncos.
Yeah, this is the one where I don't know what to say. This is just the two most dysfunctional teams by far over the past several weeks, and I have absolutely no idea what to pick. And I'm completely gambling away one of my points here in the lead. But since it's my unofficial game of the week, I'm going to say this is a 6-6 tie. That's my pick. Right?
This is officially your tie game?
Yeah. This is my tie game. Yeah, none of these teams should or would in any other circumstance ever win a football game. So this is a 6-6 tie. One field goal per half per team. Very simple. And probably no one's. I think no one's gonna actually watch this game. But I'll have it on Red Zone, and I just wanna witness it. That's all. I just wanna see what happens.
Well, if you get it, you get 2 points.
True, yeah, we came up with that rule a while ago, right? We get 2 points. Yeah, let's hope it's not gonna happen. But that'd be awesome. Ravens and the Browns.
Yeah, speaking of tie, the Ravens almost got a tie out of that game there. It was not a great game. Lamar looked good at the very beginning of the game, and then he had some flashes later in the game, but there was a big lull in the middle of that game. On the other side, the Browns, people started doubting them after that one loss to the Steelers, but I think the Steelers are just good, like I predicted earlier in the season, and I think the Browns are good, like I said earlier in the season, even though that was a bad game. Looked like Deshaun Watson was kind of getting some of his old mojo back. He's starting to look like the old Deshaun Watson. I know that's kind of divisive because people hate Deshaun Watson, and I understand that. But you can't deny that the guy has been a very talented quarterback in the past, and he may be getting back to his old self at this point. Even without Nick Chubb, the team was still scoring at will. Amari Cooper looked great in that game. As long as he stays injury-free, this is going to be good. I don't know. Both of these teams are very good offensively, and both of them have had some really bad games lately, so it does make it tough. I'm going to say this is an even match and give 3 points to the home team, and I will take the Browns at home.
I will make this our first official disagreement here. I'm going Ravens. I think what we saw from Baltimore against the Colts was kind of a blip. on the radar. Obviously, no one expected them to lose that game. No one expected Minshew Mania to make another appearance. But you could have the same argument as you did for Andy Dalton, right? Maybe the veteran just gives them a better chance to win now over the rookie. So I don't know who's starting this week for the Colts, but that's another story. I'm giving this to the Ravens. I think it's not the kind of team to lose back-to-back games. They're very well coached, especially against sort of two games that they before the season had penciled in as must win, especially this divisional one, because this has playoff implications now. As for the Browns, I don't believe that they are going to be a contender long-term without Nick Chubb. He's been so much of their offense, and yes, they are still looking competent on the ground so far. Sooner or later, this will make itself noticed, and this will become an issue for the Browns. So I think this is going to be the first game that the Ravens shut them down on the ground, and ultimately they win the game. Steelers at the Texans.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting too. Is CJ Stroud legit? We were talking about with Justin Fields, or at least I was, the Ohio State curse, the quarterback curse that they have. And it looks like it's falling right into place for Justin Fields at this time. CJ Stroud is also an Ohio State quarterback, and a very good one in college. But then again, most of those guys were before they fell in the NFL. Is that going to happen here? The Texans actually looked really good against the Jaguars, and they have played surprisingly well. It's a lot like the Cardinals, where they're overperforming for where they should be at this point in time. And it really does give me pause. I am on the Steelers this year, and I think Pickett and Pickens have a really good connection there. And I also want to say shout out to Calvin Austin. That's going to be your wide receiver tag team of the future right there. You got Pickens on one side, Calvin Austin on the other. These guys are going to be great together. It'll be like AB and Juju all over again in the end. I want to say that Steelers are just that good, and this hasn't been a fluke lately, and it is a fluke for the Texans at this point in time, because like I said, they shouldn't be that good. I'm going to stay with my surprise pick from earlier in the season and go with the Steelers here.
I will agree with you on that. First of all, though, I will say I am very positively surprised by the Texans and CJ Stroud so far. Statistically speaking, he's actually a top 10 quarterback. He's protecting the ball, which is probably the most encouraging sign you could ask from a young quarterback that's getting thrown into such a project rebuilding team. So I think there's a lot of reason for optimism with the Texans, and they finally won their first game. But I agree with you fully on the Steelers. One thing that I was shocked at first, the start of the season, when they played the Niners in the first game. And you talk about Calvin Austin. Mm-hmm. I thought the announcer called him Tavon Austin, and I was, could it be? Is it that Tavon Austin? No, I was just mistaken. It was a different guy. That's what it sounded like. But he does look like him a little bit, though. He does. He's got the speed. He's got ball in his hands. So he's a weapon. You're right about that. Yeah, Steelers. I like what they're doing. I think Kenny Pickett's going to have a good season. George Pickett's been phenomenal, by the way, like you said. So I do believe in the Steelers. The defense is looking very strong. TJ Watt's probably Defensive Player of the Year frontrunner at the moment. As much as I am on the sort of Houston optimism train, mainly because I really like the Miko Ryans and I want him to succeed, but I really do believe that they're ahead of schedule. I'm still going to take the Steelers here to win on the road. Rams and Colts.
The two teams that I really don't know what to make of their recent games, because the Rams, like I said earlier in the show, they should have won that game over the Bengals. And on the other side, the Colts should not have won their game. So I really don't know what to make about either one of these teams. I kind of feel like they are closer matched than they should be at this point in time. The Colts with Minshew, actually maybe better than AR. I know a lot of people are going to hate that because a lot of people love AR and they want to see him succeed so badly, but there's no doubt that Minshew is a much better passer. Sure, he's not built like a linebacker and can run faster than every other quarterback in the league, but he is a good passer considering. And the Rams, outside of Stafford, they got a bunch of rookies out there, and he's making the best out of them. Puka Nacua has become a star because of it, and if they ever get Cooper Kupp back, that'll be a really good duo of wide receivers right there. I'm gonna just go with logic and say that the better quarterback should win this one, even though they are both really young teams outside of quarterback. I'll take the Rams on the road.
Yeah, I'll take the Rams as well, though the Colts have kind of gathered my sympathies a little bit, because anytime Gardner Minshew plays, I like that. It just makes me happy, especially if he wins, it's even better, because he's just a really fun story. It was with Jacksonville, and I always felt like he should have gotten more of a shot as a starter somewhere. Like, he was never bad enough to not keep the spot, but also like never, or rather he was never bad enough to not get another shot, but never really good enough to keep it long term and get paid like a real franchise quarterback. So I'm glad he's still around and he's doing good for himself. And yeah, I think the Colts with him are just going to be fine. Of course, in the future, Anthony Richardson has the higher ceiling, but always like seeing Minshew around. That being said, I'm going to go Rams. They could have beaten the Bengals, and they could be 2-1, a very convincing 2-1. And I don't think we'd be talking about this one being as close as we do now. Despite them being a young team, they are consistently putting it together. So Rams beat the Colts, though of course I am rooting for the opposite result, but I don't believe it. Bucks and the Saints. I guess this is your meteor game.
Yeah, absolutely. If we can find a way for both of these teams to lose, I will be perfectly happy. What are we going to do with Jameis Winston out there? I don't know. Hopefully put up no points. I mean, a big goose egg would be really nice. And if Baker Mayfield could put up a goose egg also, and we just have a 0-0 tie, that would be really fitting here. It is in New Orleans, so I guess we got to give 3 points for that one. Do I want to believe? You know what? In that Bucks and the Eagles game, those two quarterbacks look very similar. Yeah, Jalen Hurts ran a little bit more for like 20-something yards and a touchdown, but they played awfully similar, interceptions and all. But we'll get to Jalen Hurts later. I'm just saying that Baker Mayfield is nothing special. He kind of came back down to reality there. He was playing against the Georgia Bulldogs defense out there, though, so maybe there's something to be said for that. I think overall, without Derek Carr, the Bucks should win this one, but I think there's probably some New Orleans magic going on here, so I'll go ahead and take the Saints at home.
What do you mean by New Orleans magic?
When you think the Saints should absolutely be blown out in a game, they tend to win somehow, and it really just breaks your heart and rips your soul out. So they should lose this game. I mean, the Bucks should be better, right? Considering what we've seen so far and the quarterback change. I think the Saints are going to win. I think that's just how these things work.
This is a difficult one for me to pick, I will admit. And it's kind of the situation where do I just pick opposite of what you did? But I thought I'm going to put a little bit more into it. Obviously, this is always like, people are going to get ejected here. There's going to be fights. Mm-hmm. It's the same story every time. I'm going to say that this is the time that Jameis finally gets to put one over on the Bucks for real. And I mean, like, 20-point kind of win. I think Tampa Bay looked good the first 2 weeks. I think they are better than we gave them credit for at the start of the season. We thought they would suck. But they are at least as good as they were last year, I think. And that with Baker Mayfield is definitely surprising to me, but they've been holding on well. The Saints should easily be 3-0. They should have beaten the Packers. I don't know. I don't personally believe that going from Derek Carr to Jameis Winston is that much of a downgrade. That maybe I've just always liked Jameis Winston and not like Derek Carr that much. I never knew or thought that there'd be that much of a difference there. But I think as now getting a week to prepare as a starter, he's gonna be doing just fine. Jameis gets one over on the Bucks. Saints win at home. Statement win, and they take charge of the division here. Washington's at the Eagles.
Yeah, as I was saying about the Eagles, Jalen Hurts has not looked great this year. I know because of the wins, people are putting him in the MVP conversation. He has not looked great. This is not the Jameis we saw last year. Maybe he'll turn it around. Maybe he'll get it back together. But in this game here, it doesn't take much to beat the Commanders. That's for sure. They have been getting stomped, and the Bills showed up and absolutely stomped them to the tune of 34 points more than what they could put up. And kind of felt bad for Sam Howell. I kind of hoped he could actually show something. I know he's a good mobile quarterback, but he doesn't quite have the accuracy that you would want in the NFL. But I was hoping he could pull something off, just show up and have good games and be serviceable. But it doesn't look like that's going to happen. Terry McLaurin is being wasted out there. Jahan Dotson hasn't shown up like everybody expected. The Eagles overall, especially with the Georgia Bulldogs defense out there, they are a much better team. So regardless of how Jalen is playing, the Eagles will win this game.
The Washington Commanders organization is currently facing a lawsuit from the NAGA, the Native American Guardians Association, because of the whole Redskins thing. Not because of the name, because they removed the name and the Native American community wants it back. And this has led me to develop my favorite new bold prediction, which I'm going to probably officially instate for the next season. I think those rich Native American casino owners, from South Park, I think they'll buy the team and they'll rename it to Redskins again, and then they go win the Super Bowl in 2024.
Yeah.
I think that's my next bold prediction, and it's gonna be. As for this year, though, not going to happen just yet. Eagles are 3-0. They're gonna stay undefeated here. We've seen the best of Washington in the first 2 weeks. Sam Howell looked really, really good in week 2, but they were convincingly blown out by the Bills, and it's becoming clear that they are not a top-tier team. At this point, there's still some work to do, even though their defensive line might be the best in the league or top 3 in the league. I'm going to give this one to the Eagles. Even though they're not as impressive and high-flying as they've been last year at some points, still very good, so Philadelphia wins at home. Bengals at the Titans.
Is this the big spread game? Okay. I'm glad it's not, because really these teams are much closer than you would think. Judging from the end of last season, you would say that the Bengals should be favored by 14 here, but now the Bengals have been bad. Even though they got the win over the Rams on Monday night, they're still bad. They don't look good at all. This offense is just not firing, and I think it comes down to that offensive line. Zach Taylor thought, since he has all these great offensive weapons, especially, even running back. I was going to say just wide receiver and quarterback, but the running back, Joe Mixon, is still one of the best running backs in the entire league. I think Zach Taylor thought that I could just leave those guys out there. I don't have to invest in offensive line. We'll be fine. But no, you're not fine. Your team is getting beat up, and you're not going to win a lot of games in the end, in my opinion. Maybe you'll fight to win more than half your games. These guys are that talented, obviously. But I don't think it's going to go. I don't think you're winning any Super Bowls soon unless you invest in that offensive line. And we've seen that play out too many times. The Titans, on the other hand, are really bad. I got to say that the team that should win this game is the Bengals, regardless of their offensive line. I will have to go with the Bengals here on the road.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I think it's just going to be Burrow and the star skill position players getting it done against a lackluster Titans team. But I agree with you. If the Bengals win another scrappy game here like they did against the Rams, it's still not really a statement in the sense of this is an elite team in the AFC. I think a lot has to happen for us to consider the Bengals a real contender for the AFC Championship, especially given what the Dolphins are suddenly doing, along with, of course, the Chiefs and Bills always being there. So it's a long road to the top if you're the Bengals. You have to even start, kind of competing in your own division first. No team is a pushover apparently in the AFC North this year, but even more so because of that absolutely must-win game in Tennessee for the Bengals. I think they get it done. Raiders at the Chargers.
Yeah, the 1-2 record makes you think that the Raiders are a lot worse than they are, but they've actually been hanging in some of these games, and I don't think they're that bad. I mean, the Chargers should be much better, though, because of their offensive players, and they can score at any time, like we talked about when we were talking about the Vikings. The Chargers can score. They have a great offense. They have names out there. maybe not a super team, but it's not far from it. They have the weapons. The defense is horrible, so maybe this will be another one of those games where whoever scores last is going to win the game. I believe in the Chargers offense much more than I do the Raiders with Jimmy G out there, and he's already taken some shots earlier this season, and I don't know how long he's going to continue to be out there under center. We'll find out. We know that he gets injured extremely easily, so either way, I'm taking the Chargers at home.
So there is a good possibility that Jimmy Garoppolo won't be in this game, which would mean Aiden O'Connell, a rookie out of Purdue, would start for the Raiders. That might spell some trouble for a team that I don't really believe in all that much. You have the one sort of consistent winning player in the building is Jimmy Garoppolo, who by no means is a top elite quarterback, but he's basically a replacement for Darren Carr and is about on the same level. But yeah, his health has always been the concern. Has always been the reason why he was never going to be, or didn't turn out to be, the really long-term solution in San Francisco, unfortunately, because if he's healthy and on top of his game, he's very good, but health is an issue. And either way, I believe that the Raiders don't stand much of a chance winning this one. I think the Chargers probably just finally got to smell blood in that victory over the Vikings. And offensively, the Chargers are sneakily one of the best teams in the league. Even with Michael Williams out, Keenan Allen was the best player in the game last week. Austin Eckler is going to come back eventually, so they are going to be good offensively. The big question for the Chargers is defense, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a change in defensive coordinator, defensive leadership, either this season or after this season, because that's what's been holding them back for so long. But this one, must-win game for the Chargers for sure in the division, but they get it done against the visiting Raiders, possibly without a starting quarterback. Patriots at the Cowboys.
I told you at the beginning of the season, one of these teams was going to be coming off of a win going into week 4, and the other one would be coming off of a pretty big loss, considering you would have thought they were the exact opposite. But the Patriots coming off of a win. It wasn't great against the Jets. I mean, they pulled off the win because it's Wilson out there. I mean, I don't think they had a chance if that would have been Rodgers. But I mean, I guess they're playing decent defensively. They held them to 10 points. But speaking of big defenses, though, the Cowboys blew that game against what should have been the worst team in the entire league. The Cardinals are maybe sneakily good, I guess. I mean, they have been hanging in these games, and they finally beat the Cowboys. That was your power rankings number 1 at some point after week 1, at least. So they should have been much better than the Cardinals, that's for sure. The Cardinals might have been last in the power rankings after week 1, and the Cowboys would have been first. And then they got beat by 12 points by the Cardinals. Doesn't make sense. I think the Cowboys probably pull it back together here because the Patriots are not great offensively. This is probably going to be a defensive battle. This might be one of those 9-6 type games in the end if neither one of these quarterbacks can get it going here. I'll take the Cowboys because they're at home and they should win this one.
I will take the Patriots in this one.
All right.
I'm going to make this our big disagreement here, along with the other big disagreement, but I'm taking the Patriots. I just like seeing the Cowboys lose. I also like seeing the Patriots lose, but I think I like seeing the Cowboys lose just a tiny bit more than the Patriots. I was rooting for the Cardinals, which kind of tells you everything you need to know as a team I would never root for, but if you're playing Dallas, that's what it is. So I thoroughly enjoyed that game. Patriots won the way that they win. I think this is a vintage Patriots win, if you can call it that. The 15-10 scrap it out against the Jets, ugly win, play suffocating defense. That's the backbone of the dynasty we've seen from them, and so I'm thinking this is going to give them a lot of momentum. Usually you think, 35-point blowout is what gives a team momentum. I think this is what gives fuel to the Patriots' fire, this kind of win. And I think they're smelling blood. I think they've seen Dallas struggle. I think they go into Jerry World and they keep Dak Prescott to 10 points one more time. Of course, I want all of this to happen more than I believe it, but I'm believing it just enough to pick it. Cardinals and the Niners.
I'll tell you though, I could probably see Belichick getting off on a 5-point win more than a big blowout anyway.
Absolutely.
That's the kind of win
wins,
I like.
right? Yeah.
Like I said, the Cardinals are sneakily good, but the 49ers are number 1 or number 2, depending on what power rankings you look at. They are just that good. They've been beating the crap out of everybody they face. That's the Shanahan way. Do we have another 49ers Dolphins game? I guess we can't, right? Didn't they play last season? Or did they?
Who the
49ers and the Dolphins?
They did play. Yep, they played last season.
So we're not going to see that again.
Game that Jimmy got hurt and Brock Purdy came in for the first time and he won it. Yep.
Yeah. Man, that's a shame that we won't get to see that in the regular season, but maybe it'll be a Super Bowl matchup. Who knows? Cardinals, like I said, sneakily good. Josh Dobbs is having his Geno Smith year. I think that's what he's happening. I think that's what's happening right now. Even so, even with that being said, even if they go over 500 this year, they're not beating the 49ers right here. The 49ers are dang near unstoppable. Maybe not the Dolphins level, but really good. I'll take the 49ers at home.
I'm taking the Niners. This is the 14-point spread, by the way. This is it. Niners minus 14, which, if the Cardinals game against Dallas had ended like everyone expected, with the Cardinals thoroughly getting rinsed and losing, I wouldn't be opposed to, because the Cowboys were 12.5-point favorites against the Cardinals at home, and if they put a beating on them, the Niners being 14-point favorites against the Cardinals at home, totally fine. But the Cardinals look kind of alive. I know that the Niners just beat the Giants, who had this very close one with the Cardinals. The Cardinals have been alive. They're not the kind of team that'll lay down. So, let me just ask you this. If you had to pick, if the Cardinals hypothetically played the Broncos this week, who do you think would win?
I'm picking the Cardinals.
Absolutely. No doubt.
Yeah.
Right? You'd pick the Cardinals maybe over all of the 0-3 teams right now.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Like I said, they're sneakily good. Yeah.
Yeah, they're not bad. They're not just doormats, I think. There's worse teams in this league.
Yeah.
Of course, Niners are undefeated, and they've won every game by, I think, double-digit points so far. So giving them this kind of spread also makes sense, but I'm not taking this one lightly. I think the Niners will win. I think they will soundly. I will not take it lightly. I think this is more dangerous of a game than you think. So, Niners win, but as much as I want to, I'm not touching this line. I'm not touching 14 points either direction. The big anticipated Monday night, actually Sunday night showdown, primetime showdown that isn't really turning out to be one. Chiefs at the Jets.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember right offhand. Do you know the Jets backup right now? Because obviously Mike White left.
The Jets backup right now.
Is it Tim Boyle?
What was they showed him on Hard Knocks? What was the guy? They had the whole quarterback room scene on Hard Knocks.
Was it not Tim Boyle or
I think
Trevor
it was.
Siemian, maybe?
I think it's Tim Boyle. I think that's who it was. Yeah.
Okay. Well, either way, that's might be a Mike White situation where they have to bring him in. But other than that, there is no doubt about it that the Chiefs are 10 times the team what the Jets are without Aaron Rodgers. There's no debate. There's nothing for me to even make a point here. The Chiefs are going to win this one by a mile.
I agree with that, and just because I don't have much to say about the game, Chiefs going to win easily. I don't know, have you heard the news about the Jets and their quarterback thing?
For as what?
Okay, because it's like this, again, like kind of a story that it makes you feel like we live in a simulation. The Colin Kaepernick thing, have you heard of that? Or am I breaking this story right now?
Maybe to me. I don't know.
Yeah. So Colin Kaepernick has sent a letter to the New York Jets asking him to join the practice squad. That letter was released to the Jets and to the public by J. Cole. Yes, the rapper J. Cole, earlier today. It's a 2-page letter asking, or basically imploring, the Jets to add him to their practice squad. And he says, quote, "Worst case scenario, you see what I have to offer and you're not that impressed. Best case scenario, you realize you have a real weapon at your disposal in the event you ever need to use it." So, it's we're coming up to him being out of the league for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how much longer this is going to go.
Yeah.
I don't know how much longer we're doing this.
It does amaze me, though, that he's been humbled enough to say, yes, I will take a practice squad. Because that was his problem at first, right? I mean, besides all the kneeling thing, and people got mad about that, I think teams will pick up a player if he's good enough to play. But he wanted to be a starter. No one wanted to give him starter money.
Correct.
You know,
the same exact reason that Cam Newton got out of the league.
Yeah, exactly. And he's still doing the same thing. He's still petitioning to these teams, like, take me, I'm your guy. I wouldn't doubt that he's tried to get on with the Jets lately also.
Yeah.
But it does amaze me that he's like, put me on the practice squad. I think I might actually take him up on that if I was the management for the Jets. Like, well, what does it hurt?
Didn't the Raiders or some team just work him out, like, last offseason, and he was completely awful, like, not completely inadmissible. I don't know. I don't know. It feels like every 3 months you don't think about anything bad, and then you look up and suddenly there's a Colin Kaepernick story somewhere.
True.
Jets quarterback situation is bad enough. So who knows at this point? Like I'd be calling up a lot of people. I thought it was very legitimate for the Jets to trade back for Sam Darnold. By the way, after last week. Mm-hmm. I really thought so, especially had the Trey Lance thing never happened. I think the Jets would have made a very serious attempt at getting Darnold back at this point. And it sucks for Zach Wilson because you thought he'd get the chance to have some time to sit behind Aaron Rodgers, but now he's getting thrown back right into it. So all the best to him, but I'm picking the Chiefs to win this one. And then Monday night, we have the Seahawks at the Giants.
I still can't fathom, why did J. Cole get involved, though?
I have no idea. I don't know, because otherwise the story wouldn't be ludicrous enough.
Yeah, I guess so. Kaepernick's probably passing it around to every rapper friend that he has. Probably. Like, hey, check this out. That way, if they don't sign me, it's probably some kind of social injustice going on here. Maybe that's why. But either way, it's always been a circus around Kaepernick, even though I do like the guy in the long run. I don't know if he's good enough to be a starting quarterback, but I've always liked Kaepernick, so it is what it is. I don't hate for any certain reason. Seahawks and the Giants. The Seahawks always find a way to win because of Pete Carroll, like I said. Geno hasn't been the best, but he's been actually decent in 2 games after having a horrible week 1. On the other hand, the Giants are in dire straits, and if they don't get offensive line help, they're going the same way as a few other teams here. Their offensive line is bad. I feel worse about them than the Bengals at this point. Another team that should be good, and they're not going to be if they don't start fixing some things. Pete Carroll probably finds a way to win here on Monday night. This should not be a primetime game at this point, but here we are. I'll take the Seahawks on the road.
See, this is one where I really expected you to pick the Giants. So that's what this is kind of what I actually built my whole thing around. I was going to take Seattle and have you pick the Giants, and then tell you the Giants are too volatile to bet on.
Mm-hmm. They are.
And now you go... Yeah, they are. I know they are, but usually you're the one who would take them. So I'm a bit taken aback by that. But yeah, I'm not changing what I'm doing. I'm picking Seattle. Unfortunately, of course, I'll be really, really rooting for the Giants. I hope this is one of those Daniel Jones games where he just comes out and somehow looks amazing. Looks like Josh Allen. Mm-hmm. Because every once in a while he just does that.
Yes.
But I don't believe it until I see it. The Seahawks have been spotty here and there, but they've just been, I think, the better team. Giants have looked... I mean, if we go back to the first 2 games, very unreliable, and now, of course, like, kind of slowed down on irons a little bit in the first half, but it never turned out to be anything too impressive, so I'm going Seattle. By the way, betting wise, I actually have money on Seattle, which I don't often do. But the Giants are actually favored in this game.
Wow.
They are at home, give them that, but the Giants are favored by 1.5. So I have happily taken Seattle plus 1.5. Other than that, I also have the Ravens plus 3. Somehow the Browns are favored by a field goal. And I just have the Rams in a pick'em against the Colts. at Indianapolis. So we're still growing, whether we're still doing good. So far, last week I won 3 out of 4 bets. Mm-hmm. So we keep reinvesting. But yeah, how many disagreements do we have this week?
We have 3. We have the Patriots Cowboys. Okay, I mean, after last week, I can see where that comes from. The Browns and Ravens you're talking about. You said that was a pick 'em, right? Or did
Browns
you say 3?
Yeah, Browns have 3 points for being at home.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And the Browns outplayed the Ravens last week, considering the competition for each of them. I mean, the Ravens were playing the Colts. And like I said, after week 1, I'm not that impressed by the Ravens. I want them to be good. And sometimes I watch them and go, wow, this is one of the best teams in the league. And then sometimes I'm like, what are you guys doing? And Lamar probably should play a little more hero ball. Harbaugh has probably talked him out of it by this point, but I think he should play a little more hero ball. That's what got him to superstardom, was running when everything breaks down, was getting mad at your offense because they had a busted play, because it just didn't work out, and you take the ball and do it yourself and go score a touchdown. That's how Lamar wins, and he hasn't been doing that, and we see what we get. The other one was the Broncos and the Broncos and the Bears, because you picked a tie. I was like, there's no way you picked the Bears.
Yeah, that's right. I don't know how we're going to account for that one. It won't happen anyway, I guess. But if it does, I'm claiming 2 points.
Yeah, I'll give you 2 points if that ends in a tie.
All right. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to feel about these disagreements. There's weeks where I'm very confident, and there's weeks where I just make some intuition picks, and they don't necessarily always turn out perfectly.
Yeah. Oh, really, the only pick that I'm not really, well, maybe 2 of them, not really that confident in the Rams and the Colts because of what happened last week. And what else was it? It was the Bucks and the Saints. Kind of afraid that hero ball Baker might show up and actually put one over on the Saints. But really, like I said, Saints magic happens more times than it should. So went with the Saints there. And I'm glad you picked them.
That's true, yeah. When did the Saints play the Falcons for the first time this year?
I haven't looked to find out yet. Let me see. Let me bring up the Falcons schedule here. Usually they end up playing twice in the very end of the season. Let's see what we got. It's going to be a while. Actually, November 26th is the first game. And then we'll close out the season on January 7th. Falcons actually have, the way it looks right now, we have an easy schedule. The last 5 games of the season are Buccaneers, Panthers, Colts, Bears, and Saints. Oh, and Jets before that. So Saints before that, man. Cardinals before that.
Okay.
Wow, the Falcons could get on a heater by the end of the season.
They should, but they have to prove themselves to be like legitimately above those teams, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't pick them to beat the Cardinals right now, but they should by the end of the season.
Yeah, I'd pick them to beat the Cardinals now.
Okay.
I'd still pick most teams to beat the Cardinals. The Cardinals are just good. They're a good fighting team, but they're not that talented. Like, they've lost all their good players. It's just one thing. That's why I don't think they'll beat legitimately good teams.
Yeah, the Falcons have the players. They have the stars now. They're just way too conservative of an offense, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, could be. You'd think they'd lean even more on the run game, which they're trying to do, but it can come across as too conservative. That is absolutely true.
Absolutely.
Maybe they're trying to protect Ritter too much.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. And like I said, from week 1, turn the guy loose. Like, let's find out if he has it or not. Let's stop protecting him. It's either going to make him a man or sink him, and that's... Great quarterbacks are thrown into the fire and they sink or swim. So I think we need to stop protecting Ritter and let him go and see what happens. He might have a couple
in
bad
a controlled
games.
Fashion, right?
Yeah,
and in a good environment. Like you don't want to throw him in the fire like Zach Wilson is getting thrown into the fire all the time. But I know what you're saying. You gotta let him show that he can win.
Yeah,
the game, not just be there. That is true.
Yeah, I mean,
we'll see. Maybe throughout the season they'll get more in that direction.
Yeah. Wow, they really have an easy schedule. I'm looking. I mean, we got Commanders, we got Texans, we got the Titans, we got the Vikings. Really is an easy schedule this entire season.
Yeah, that looks like a very easy schedule. Not really any like top teams there.
Mm-hmm. Like I told you at the very beginning of the season, I think this team is gonna have some stumbles at the beginning of the season, and they will get better. I didn't even pick them to win this division, although I should have now if Derek Carr is going to be out for quite a while, which I guess that's still to be determined how long he will be out. But the Falcons might be the favorite if Carr is out.
Maybe, but the Bucks maybe the Bucks are good.
Maybe. I mean, yeah, that was the Eagles they were playing, so maybe so.
I feel like this year, more than other years, there's very few teams that we can definitively say something about. Like there's about two to three or four teams that we can say are definitively good, and like 2 to 3 teams we can definitively say are bad. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of teams that we're not sure about.
Well, I was amazed that some of the teams we thought for sure were bad are not that bad, like the Cardinals, the Texans, and the Colts. Thought for sure these guys were, they were going to be fighting for the 0-17 season. Obviously,
they still could though. They still could. Who knows?
Yeah, well,
yeah, they won.
Yeah, they have wins now, but yeah.
Cardinals are probably going 0-6 in their division, or you'd expect them to.
Yeah, you would think, but like I said, they're fighting, and nobody told Josh Dobbs they're supposed to be losing.
That's true. That is correct. Yeah.
There's
none of that. We have two tank bowls this week, though, so we'll see who's dedicated to losing. Carolina, Minnesota, Denver, and Chicago.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll see how that goes. It'd be fun if Chicago ended up with the first overall pick back-to-back years, right?
They would take it this time.
Yeah, they're a draft quarterback that time.
Yeah.
Maybe already should have last year.
Yeah.
I guess the Panthers offered too much for that spot.
You think Bryce?
Actually, I kind of want to see Denver. I want to see Denver have the first overall pick, not so they can get a good player, just so that because it's funny to see Denver have the.
I can't recall a time they did. At least not in recent memory.
Oh, Denver?
I know they've been bad ever since Peyton left.
Yeah.
But they're never bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, maybe not. When was the last time they picked first overall?
Ooh, I don't know. I'd have to look that up. Let's see.
Let me check.
When was the last time the Broncos picked first in the draft?
Did they ever? Oh, they must have.
No, it came up with a list of first-round draft picks, but have the Broncos ever had a number one pick? The Broncos have held the number one overall pick in the NFL draft. Wait, that's a question, not a statement. They haven't. Wait. Okay, I guess they never finished last.
They never have?
Yeah, Peyton was the number one overall pick.
Yeah. But that was not the Broncos drafting him. Von Miller was drafted second overall.
Yeah, that's crazy. I didn't even think about that. That was the Colts that drafted Manning. Why does it show him? Because soon as I pulled this up, there's a picture of Peyton, with his jersey, like the Broncos drafted him. And Elway is standing beside him. I don't get it. I don't know why they put that on there. Yeah, and it just dawned on me once you said that. I was like, yeah, that's right. The Colts drafted him.
And they also drafted both Peyton and John Elway.
Yeah, John was a number one overall. And so was Courtney.
The Broncos.
Courtney Brown in 05. That's a defensive end. What? Oh, okay, I guess. And then they listed Peyton for the third one. That's the only 3 overall number ones they have. I guess they listed him just because he was a number one overall pick that played for the Broncos.
Yeah, that must be it. So they've never picked first overall, as far as we can tell. The Broncos themselves.
Yes, exactly.
I guess you could count the Elway thing because he was the first overall pick and then immediately went to Denver.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, well,
yeah, I guess they never have.
it will be fun. It will be fun to do it. All right, that's it for this week.
All right.
Big slate. MVP voting is up again on the channel page. You can go ahead and on the community page, you can pick who your MVP is. So far, the preseason favorite was Josh Allen. Ever since week 1, it's been a Tua show. Every single week, over 50% of the votes have been for Tua. See how it goes this week. Tua still gets my vote. I'm assuming he's got yours as well.
Absolutely.
The way he spoke at the start. So let's see if that changes this week. We have Tua, Josh Allen, so that's a big MVP matchup coming up, but we'll see how it goes with that. Do you have anything to add about these games here?
No, I think that's it for this week.
All right, then everyone, please let us know your opinions in the comments. Drop us a like, and we'll see you in the next one.
Deuces.
Check the scoreboard. Ha. Check.